and I made him watch. Hello and welcome yet again to And I Made Him Watch, where I make my husband watch weird movies and we discuss how weird things got. I'm your host, Danny Page, and here with me, forever and always, my wonderful husband and handsome filmmaker, Troy Allen. What's up, Allen?
Not much, Paige. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay.
That's good. That's good. And thank you all for listening and tuning in.
Yeah, of course. So I made you watch The Beyond from 1981, continuing Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, I think I'm still in utter shock.
Shock?
Yeah, I really don't know how to explain it. It's just kind of like, that's an hour and some change of my life that I'll never get back.
It was like an hour and 27 minutes.
Yeah.
I do believe.
Yeah, so pretty standard run time.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, interesting.
So this was roughly my third time watching it. When I first watched it, this is what I told my friends. So apparently this dude gets murdered in this basement of this hotel. And then we jump forward and this woman somehow inherits the hotel. And the people start to get hurt and shit right off the bat. There's a leak in the basement and this shit is flooded, okay? It is thigh high water. They have to have a makeshift bridge pretty much. And the plumber, who's just doing his job, right, disturbs the place where the guy got murdered. And then there's something about the door to hell and there's some zombies. And for some reason, at the time, I gave it a 4 out of 5, but had been doing a rating out of 10. And I'm not sure why I did that. Also, 4 out of 5 is a very high rating.
Yeah, it is.
In that rating system. I think after watching it for the third time, I'd probably give it a 4.5. Maybe that's what I meant to do, is give it a 4.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're back on track with the trilogy, and apparently I said trilogy? What did I say last time?
Yeah, you were saying trilogy. It's trilogy.
Trilogy.
Yeah.
And I apologize for that. When I said I had dyslexia, that's a true thing. So sometimes my brain is trying to process words faster than my mouth can say them, and everything kind of gets jumbled up, and I'll try to do better.
It's okay. We love you for it.
Thank you, baby. Okay, so Fulci and Sachati, I think is how you pronounce his name, are back with the second installment of the Gates of Hell trilogy. They are joined by screenwriter Giorgio Mariuzzo. Giorgio was an Italian screenwriter. Giorgio was an Italian screenwriter and director who worked in various genres of cinema and television. He was born in Venice on July 7th, 1939, and entered the film industry in 1968 as an assistant director. He's been accredited to have written over 50 films. He's also worked as an assistant director and director of a few of his own. He wrote comedies, westerns, dramas, and adapted several movies and plays for the screen. Giorgio Mariuzzo did not win any major films or awards for his screenwriting or directing work. However, he was nominated for David De Donatello Award for Best Screenplay in 1989 for his adaptation of Enrico Mattei, which is L'uomo che guardava il futuro, or in English, The Man Who Looked into the Future. I have to at least try to be respectful.
Yeah, no, that's respectable.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a TV miniseries about the life of the Italian oil tycoon and politician. He was mainly active on television from 1985 until his death of January 16, 2023, at age 83. So he worked for a really long time. And 83 is a decent age, I would say. Would. Fabio Frizzi is back as the composer for the music of the film, which I love. And we also see the return of Catriona McCoyle as Liza Merrill, excuse me. She must have really liked working for Fulci.
I guess, which is surprising because what she had to say about him in the first film, and in the scene where she's in the casket, so to me it kind of seemed like they didn't really get along, but she came back. So
no, when that quote is not out of anger or anything. It's more like explanatory of what happened. She didn't really have anything bad. No one, when I did research about his reputation, no one really had anything awful to say about it. Sometimes he would butt head because he wanted things done a certain way and perfected in his eyes. So other than that, no one really had anything bad to say. So David Warbeck portrays the handsome hero, Dr. John McCabe. David was a New Zealand actor and model who starred in many European exploitation and horror films. He was born in Christchurch on November 17th, 1941, and moved to London in 1965 to study at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. He dropped out after 4 terms and became a successful model. Hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah.
He made his film debut in Wolf's Head, The Legend of Robin Hood in 1969, where he played Robert of Locksley. Although his featured film debut was in My Lover, My Son in 1970, and that movie looks hella weird, man. Anyway, moving on. Research is crazy for these old movies sometimes. It really is. He was actually in another one of Fulci's movies called The Black Cat in 1981. He was recasted by Fulci after the pair became friends. Going back to like how you were saying that people might have not liked him, but people kept working for him.
Yeah.
The Black Cat is based loosely on the 1843 story of the same name by Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. It stars Patrick McGee as a psychic who can communicate with the dead and control his black cat, which he uses to kill his enemies.
Interesting.
Yeah. At one point, Warbeck was actually considered to be James Bond in the Live and Let Die. Until Roger Moore was chosen. Warbeck claimed that he actually got paid to be a secret understudy for Moore in case he decided to drop out or even threatened to drop out from the movie. And then when Timothy Dalton became Bond, Warwick was told that he was too old to play the spy by then. By the time, yeah. Only weeks before his death in 1997, he was able to record DVD commentary with Catriona McCoyle for The Beyond. So the DVD has commentary of him. He died of cancer later that year on July 23rd at the age of only 55. Yeah, he was super young. The mysterious blind Emily is played by the actress Senzenia Monreal, I do believe is how you say the name, who was credited as Sarah Keller in the movie titles, and who by the way is beautiful. She still models today, I do believe. She was born in Giona on June 22nd, 1957, and started her career as a model. She has appeared in various genres of cinema and television. She also produced 2 documentaries, Kill Gil Volume 1 and Kill Gil Volume 2. They're video diaries made by Gil Rossellini, the son of the famous Italian filmmaker Roberto Rossellini, who suffered from a bacterial infection that left him paralyzed, and the need for constant medical care. The documentaries show his daily struggles, hopes, fears, and humor as he tries to cope with his condition and regain some of his independence. She's still active in the film industry as of 2024. The unfortunate artist and warlock, Shivek, is portrayed by Anton St. John. St. John was a French actor who starred in many European films, especially in the horror and western genres. He was born in Avignon, France, on August 11th, 1940, and started his career as a stage actor. He was best known for his tall structure, his deep voice, and his ability to speak fluent English and German. His most successful film was The Wind and the Lion. It tells the story of a Berber rebel leader, played by Sean Connery, who kidnaps an American woman, played by Candice Bergen, and her children, that triggers a diplomatic crisis involving the U.S. president, played by Brian Keith. He died of an undisclosed cause on February 7th, 1990, at the age of 49. So he was also super young.
Yeah, they're definitely dropping like flies in this one, I guess.
Yeah.
That's
wow. Okay. A few other notable actors I should mention is Veronica Lazar, who plays Martha, who was a Romanian-Italian actress. She made her film debut in The Last Tango in Paris in 1972, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci, and worked with him in 4 more films. She died in Rome on June 8th, 2014, at the age of 75. Another mention is Gianpaolo Saccarola, which is the simple Arthur, Martha's son. He was an Italian actor and voice actor who appeared in many films of horror and western genres. He was born in Venice on April 23rd, 1952, and died in Rome on November 28th, 1991, after a car accident. So a good bit of this cast is
no longer with us. Living it up in the old afterlife.
Yep. Following The City of the Living Dead, Fulci envisioned a trilogy centered around the theme of Gates of Hell. The Beyond emerged as part of the trilogy, with the film's concept conceived by Fulci, Maurizio, and Saccati. The title was chosen during a conversation between Fulci and DeAngelis, who was one of the producers. Saccati's interpretation of The Beyond was influenced by reflections of death and the suffering of being born condemned to death. The film's plot and death scenes were developed from Fulci's vague idea and the keywords. Saccati originally envisioned the characters entering the Beyond as like an amusement park, but the change to a desert landscape due to logistical restraints. So, just a little tidbit. The movie had a budget of about $400,000, which is roughly $1.3 million today. The movie made about $416,000 at the box office, which is not even $1.4 million in 2024. So it didn't do great. I think these are the American numbers.
Wait, so their budget was $400,000, and they made $416,000.
So
they made $16,000.
Yeah, but I think it did a lot better in like Italy and Europe and stuff though when it was released.
Yeah. Well, because everybody always hears about the spaghetti western genre, like the Fistful, the Dollars trilogy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But no one ever thinks about like spaghetti horrors, I mean, is that a? I think it's a thing.
It's just Italian horror. It's not called spaghetti horror. but it's not a
I'm
thing.
pointing spaghetti horrors now. Yep.
Oh God. What's
happened?
I don't know if that's
already. That has passed. The time has passed.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna put you in free speech prison. You're gonna go to free speech jail. I am.
No,
it's
thanks.
gonna happen.
No, thanks.
Most of the film was done on location in New Orleans and other cities in the area. A lot of the filming took place at the famous French quarters, like all the graves we see and all the funeral and stuff. And then also in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, which is where the funeral actually took place, not the French Quarter. For the infamous Seven Doors Hotel, the historic Otis House near Lake Pontchartrain. Is that how? I think that's how
close.
It is.
I think it's Pontchartrain.
Pontchartrain was used. The Otis House is a historic house museum located at Fairview Riverside State Park in Madisonville, Louisiana. It was built in the 1880s by William Theodore J., who was a sawmill owner, and later renovated in the 1930s by Frank Otis, who was a wealthy businessman. The house is a 2-story Queen Anne style structure with 12-foot ceilings, 8 fireplaces, and heart of pine flooring. It showcases many original furnishings and artifacts from the late 19th and early 20th century, and the house was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1999. When filming, they had to like dirty the place up to make it look older and worn down like it does in the movie. So they actually put sand and cement on the floors, on these hardwood floors. Heart of pine, hardwood floors.
They did what?
Yes. And it damaged the original flooring. So production actually had to pay the state of Louisiana to restore the floors once they were done, or once they had wrapped.
Wow, that is such a shame. I cannot believe they did that. It's such a beautiful house, too.
It is such a beautiful house. So when they started filming there was actually no official shooting script, by the way. Like, a lot of the stuff was kind of made up on the spot. Fulci's concept script that he had was only 3 pages.
Nice. Talking about like shooting from the hip, you know what I mean? Like, that's so wild to me. Like, I don't really understand the whole concept of like starting production on like a barely even started script.
Yeah.
Because at the
could you imagine?
Yeah, because most films these days aren't shot in chronological order.
Oh no.
So trying to make sure that everything, connects all the way through, and then making sure that by the end of production you have an actual complete thought of a movie. When you didn't have a finished script to start with, like, that's impossible. So it's no wonder that movies like this don't really make any sense.
Yeah. Well, we've been in that type of situation where we have to like maneuver the script around to make it work for us.
Yes, but there's a difference between starting without a script and just tweaking the script throughout the film. So like,
yeah, you're right.
So
there also was a bit of a language barrier because most of the cast were native English speakers and Fulci spoke Italian, and apparently there was lots of miming and making faces and body language to communicate what he wanted the actors to do.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, though, that kind of makes sense because, like, I don't know. It just, again, like, just like the first film, this film, it just felt like they went and recorded all the dialogue in post-production and stuff.
Yeah. I think that was like a 70s thing to get clearer audio.
And it may have been, yes, but it just doesn't seem like, it makes for very good filmmaking afterwards.
Well, it's an old movie. They had to do well with what they had, to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the movie begins with a flashback to 1927. And we see a mob of men in 2 rowboats. This scene was actually one of those last minute made up on the spot scene. that Fulci and Salvati, the cinematographer, came up with after seeing the long, narrow lake, which was near the hotel, or where the house, the Otis house. According to Larry Ray, who was a member of the Louisiana Film Commission and also plays our hero here, house painter Larry, as we stand him, we stand Larry. He said in the end, a lot of these scenes were dreamed up on the spot and added as a combination work between Fulci, David Push, and the crew. David Pash. David was the producer, by the way. Product director. There we go. By the way. So that was one of those scenes that they just was like, oh, this is a good idea. Let's just add it here.
I appreciated the artistic vision there because the way it was shot, and I don't know if this was in camera or in post, but it had this sort of like washed out sort of feel with the vignette, around the frame, and everything just felt like it kind of flowed really well, and the production value was definitely there. They had period clothing and guns and vehicles and stuff, and the only thing I did not like about that scene was there's a shot where you're kind of tracking with the boats as they're going through the water, but it's obviously a handheld shot, and the shot just gets super shaky. But again, it's 70s technology, so it's kind of to be expected. So, but yeah, that's my take on it.
It was specifically chosen because they wanted that really cool shot of like the water reflecting the fire and everything. Yeah. And they also used a lot of fog machines, apparently.
Yeah, definitely a lot of haze.
Yeah.
A lot of haze. Also, I'd like to point out the opening title. So before that opening scene with the opening titles, there's that classic grindhouse release thing.
Ooh, and so good.
And the music and stuff, and immediately, because I'm a product of my time, I immediately thought Tarantino.
Of course you did.
And I was like, yo, that's so cool. Anyways, continue.
So the mob is in these little rowboats carrying torches, and it creates this very menacing atmosphere for the movie to start in. There's also a storm going on as we see this woman coming into the parlor of the hotel, and begins to read a book called Ebon. The Ebon book is another nod to H.P. Lovecraft. The book appears in a number of Lovecraft stories. It's pretty much his Book of the Dead, or like the I can't say it.
Necronomicon.
Necronomicon. I know how to say that word. I've said it many times. Necronomicon. And everyone loves a good old, Necronomicon.
Yeah, I'm sure Sam Raimi is all over these films too.
So this woman is reading Ebon, and which apparently prophesizes the openings of the gates of hell, and the mob arrives on these rowboats, but also in cars. Like, this mob is pretty big just be going after this one guy, okay? The mob heads up to Shevik. Schweck. It's okay. German.
Oh, yes.
Schweck, who was like just painting in room 36 of the 7-door hotel. And the painting is of this desert landscape with these bodies that look like they've been covered in dust. It's creepy, but not like deserves to be murdered creepy. Mm-hmm. The leader of the mob, who looks like this dumbed down, great value Ron Swanson, calls Schweck an ungodly warlock and starts to beat him with a chain.
It did cause me to chuckle. It did. Also, so with the opening of that scene, when you were mentioning the woman walking down the hallway into the room and stuff, and there's the storm going off and all that stuff. So the cinematography in this shot is very noticeable. So if you're paying attention, when she's walking down the hall, the lightning strikes. When the lightning strikes, the light flashes behind her. Mm-hmm. And that's the only light you see flashing. But then when she walks into the room, now it's no longer flashing behind her. It's flashing in the room. So...
Other windows? It's movie magic, man.
But the movie's not magicking.
Movie magic.
The movie's not magicking is what I'm trying to say.
It's the 70s. It's magic enough.
Well, it's like I said last episode, bad cinematography is cinematography that you notice.
Yeah. So the mob takes Svek down into the basement, and he's literally warning them that this place was built on one of the gates of hell. And it's also implied that he's actually, he says, I'm the only one that can save you. And he's implying here that he's actually guarding the gate so it doesn't open, But, small town people, small brains, small thoughts.
He's a witch.
Pretty much. So the mom continues to crucify Svek down in the basement. To achieve the crucifixion effect, holes were cut into St. John's shirt. Mm-hmm. Not into St. John, but his shirt. To hide his forearms behind the wall. And then dummy arms filled with fake blood were attached to the front of the shirt. And additionally, holes were cut at the ends of the dummy arm, allowing De Rossi, who was actually the special effects designer, to insert his own hands. So the hands we're seeing are not St. John's. They're actually the special effects artists.
Okay.
This created the illusion of seamless arms, making the crucifixion appear authentic. The hands were mobile and could move realistically, enhancing the overall effect. The makeup... Maurizio Tranis, which is the film's makeup artist, hands were seen on screen when completing he's the one doing the nails. And also, while watching this scene, and as I did the research again, you can barely make out the prosthetic arms end and where De Rossi's hands start. And you would totally miss it if you weren't looking for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing I noticed was the special effects, especially in the opening scene, were really well done. The only bad thing I could say is the blood effect.
Yeah.
Because it just felt like, fruit punch.
It looked like fruit punch. It was clear and red and watery.
Yeah. Blood's supposed to be more syrupy, so it's got to have some viscosity to it.
Also, if the crucifixion wasn't enough, the mob begins to throw what I thought was hot wax the first time I watched it, but it's actually lime acid.
Okay.
And it melts and sizzles his face.
Okay, because I was thinking it was fondue. It definitely
looked
like
say fondue when
cheese.
we were watching it, yes.
And I'm like, why are you throwing
it was
cheese
the 70s,
on this guy? I guess. It's like...
Wasn't fondue really big in the 70s, I think?
Yeah. It's there's... I guess that would be painful, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So then we time jump to 1981, and we meet Liza, who has inherited the Seven Doors Hotel. She plans to fix the place up and reopen it. But right off the bat, weird things start to happen. After glimpsing this weird white-eyed woman in the window, the painter, Larry, who we stand, falls off the scaffolding. Enter Dr. McCabe, Dr. McCabe, who takes poor Larry to the hospital. After this, at the hotel, the bell for room 36, the room Svek was staying in, rings mysteriously. Everyone just kind of shrugs this off, or mentions it's a malfunction because no one's staying in the hotel yet. But they also blame it on poor simple Arthur, the housekeeper's son. They're just oh, it must be Arthur. It's Arthur.
Yep. Nothing to see here.
So the basement is flooded as well, and the plumber, Joe, who just trying to make a living and support his family, is called in. Also, in this scene, I noticed Joe is smoking a cigarette and seems to light up, but it actually isn't lit. You even caught it too.
Yeah, so when we first see Joe, the first thing that stood out to me was the front license plate on his truck. It said, Jesus Christ is the answer. And later on, it's kind of funny. But the Joe lighting the cigarette. And if you're not paying attention, it looks like he lights a cigarette, but then you don't see any glow. There's no smoke. So,
yep.
Yep.
I know it was. But later on the stairs, when they're in the basement, it's actually lit. Down the basement, we meet Martha, who has been down in the basement to make a path just for Joe to the far end of the basement. This basement seems like it goes on forever. It's crazy how big this basement seems. Joe finds a brick wall and has to chisel through it to find the source of the water, but unknown to him, he's actually disrupting the burial place of Spik and opening the gates of hell.
So when we first see Joe down in the basement, and then Martha seemingly comes out of nowhere, she looks like she's been down in the basement for quite some time. She's been down there for way too long, because she's giving Joe this 1,000-yard stare. So it's almost like she knows Joe from somewhere else.
Yes.
So, but that's never really answered.
No.
So
I have a hypothesis for this, but I'll wait until we get through the movie and then I'll explain my actual thoughts.
Okay.
But remind me again.
Okay.
So we don't forget.
All right.
So in the basement, we see a clear image of this symbol that has been carved into the wall. And it's shaped like the astronomical symbol for Jupiter, but it's turned on its side. Apparently, this is meant to be the symbol of Ebon in the movie. According to the internet, this is a symbol was used because Fulci's daughter, one of Fulci's daughters, got it tattooed on her arm, and he didn't like it, so he used it to represent something evil in his movies. This is also how we probably get the number 36. More research told me that when translated to numerology, Jupiter is 1379259, and Shivik is 13855,932, which added together both end up being 36.
Interesting.
Yep.
That does seem like it would connect the dots.
Yep.
Yeah.
So upstairs, Arthur is doing some creepy shit while Joe is getting his eyes gouged out and gets killed by a zombie Spik. Joe and Spik's bodies are found by Martha a few moments later, and the bodies are taken to the hospital.
That's what Joe gets for going spelunking. When he's supposed to be on the job fixing stuff. He gets the ghost hand to the face.
Yep, he did. He got just squished in the face.
Yep.
Eyeball, just...
Yep, pop goes the weasel.
Oh, God.
To Joe's eye.
Eliza meets the strange and mysterious Emily, who was blind and is guided by her German Shepherd, Dickie. Emily literally just appears on the road, too. He's, just out in the middle of nowhere. That long bridge, right in the middle of... It's the Lake... Pontchartrain. Say it?
Pontchartrain?
Pontchartrain Caseway, which is just a really long bridge. It's 23 miles long, connecting Metier and Maidville in Louisiana. So it's this really long, almost Gulf size.
Yeah.
I've seen aerial photos of it. It's crazy long.
Yeah, because it spans the entire width of the lake, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because when we first saw that scene, the first thing that came to mind was okay, this looks like the bridge down in the Florida Keys.
Yeah.
In between Marathon and Key Largo and all that stuff. So at first I was like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. But then I started thinking like, okay, New Orleans, Lake Pontchartrain.
Yep.
So there you have it.
Yep.
But yeah, like Emily just kind of appearing out of nowhere. Because at first I didn't connect the dots. I didn't realize who Emily was or why she was blind. You know, her guide dog is doing a terrible job. You know,
Dickie's doing the best he can.
He led his owner to the middle of the bridge in Lake Pontchartrain.
Because
is that
he
good?
was told to, probably, and he's a good boy.
We'll see later on that Dickie's not such a good boy.
Emily and Liza have a little meeting, and Emily tells Liza to pack it up and get out of town before it's too late. You know the gist. Meanwhile, at the hospital, for some reason, they've got Schvicht hooked up to this brainwave monitor or heart monitor for some reason. Like, this dude's been dead for like 60 years, but you just use time and money to see if he's got brain activity. You know, just use the...
I mean, you know, you get a... I named him the Soggy Bottom Boy. Yeah. But, like, you know, Soggy Bottom Boy shows up on your gurney. Obviously, he's been dead for quite some time. Of course, that's the logical thing. Like, let's check for brain activity. So...
Joe's wife and daughter show up to get him ready to be buried. The events that happen next, it just let me get through it. The events that happen next is really strange and confusing. After getting her deceased husband dressed, Joe's wife turns around and just starts screaming.
Hold on, you said diseased.
Deceased husband.
He is quite dead.
Yes,
quite
deceased husband. We don't know what she's screaming at. We don't see it at all. At first, I thought she was like seeing Schvicht's body for the first time, and I rewind it, but it doesn't make sense because he's fully on display when she comes into the morgue.
Yeah, she looks like she's looking past him.
Yes.
And like towards the wall. Also, I'd like to point out that when Marion, her name's Marion, when she first walks into the room and she sees Joe's body, she doesn't look distraught at all. She's just like, that's what you get, Joe, for plundering, you know? But she's over there like, you know, dressing him and stuff. And, you know, I was thinking like, she probably just thinking about that insurance money. She's like, we getting a new house. All our bills are paid. So,
hearing her mother scream, Jill, the daughter, comes into the morgue and sees her mother, who's on the floor now, just knocked the fuck out. And I guess she just passed out or something from fright. And this jar of acid from a shelf is being poured onto her face and it melts. The self-pouring jar of acid just drizzles all over this woman's face. And I honestly don't want to talk about that scene anymore.
This whole scene is
I don't want to talk about it.
It's Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. I swear to God. Like, I swear. And then, so when Jill comes in, she's equally undistraught as her mother was. She's just like, oh, well, there's...
She just keeps looking. They're like,
So she sees this like pool of acid coming, and you know her mother's over there with her face being, you know, dissolved, and she's just like, "This is weird," you know. Like
I feel like this is one of the scenes that were made up on the spot.
Probably, or maybe she's just in shock. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. I mean, she walks in, she sees her dead father. Sees her mom's acid face, and then also sees the shrivel up, soggy bottom boy.
Yes. Also, we also need to point out that when Jill's still sitting in the hallway before she comes in, that fucking gurney, that was scary in and of itself. So, like, also great camera work here because we've got this like profile view of Jill, and she's in focus, and we see someone out of focus in the background, right? And they're coming, and you just hear this loud fucking squealing, And the focus shifts, and it's like an orderly dude.
Yeah.
And he's just pushing this gurney. And it's like, not meant to be scary, but you need to slap some like WD-40 on these fucking gurneys or something, because
it was so squeaky.
Dude.
Meanwhile, Liza and Dr. John are becoming friendly. Their little drink date they're having is interrupted when Dr. John gets a phone call from the hospital. So I guess he's getting the what's happened at the hospital thing. Next, we have a scene of Joe and his wife's funeral. Like, they don't play around when getting people buried in Fulci's movies. Like, it is within the next hours. These people are in the ground.
Yeah.
We also see that Jill's eyes have turned all white here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So Emily shows up to the hotel and tells Liza the history of the hotel and all about Schweck. And she tells her that 60 years ago, everyone in the hotel disappeared and that Schweck has been a shut-in living in the hotel and that he found a key to the 7 gates of hell. And Emily freaks out and touches the painting Schweck was working on. And the bell for room 36 rings again. Apparently, because Liza lived in New York, also, she ain't afraid of no ghosts. Emily's hands start to bleed.
Jesus Christ. So, I love the fact that so Emily just appeared out of nowhere on this fucking bridge, right? Mm-hmm. And, Liza's like, who are you? And Emily's like, oh, I'm Emily, but I know who you are, Liza. Yeah. And Liza's just like, okay, cool. Come hop in the car. We'll take a ride, And now Emily's...
would you leave a blind lady just on the bridge?
No.
Out in the middle of the pony?
I don't think that's the appropriate thing to do. But at the same time, so Emily's telling you some shit is going down in this house. And you're just like,
yeah.
Nope.
I lived in New York.
Must have been the wind. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
So, I think this is a good time to mention the contacts that we see the actors wearing.
Yeah.
They were made of glass.
Smart.
They were hand-painted with enamel. And the contacts were so uncomfortable and painful to wear and made it almost impossible to see out of. And the makeup artist had to remove the lenses constantly and disinfect them between takes. So these lenses were constantly in and out of these people's eyes.
Better them than me, I say.
Oh my God. I couldn't imagine having, no.
Yeah.
It ain't worth it.
Yeah. Just shove these shards of glass in your eye. It's fine.
So, despite Emily telling Liza not to be nosy, she goes up to room 36 and does some snooping. She finds She finds the book of Ebon and has a vision of Schweck's body nailed to the wall in the bathroom. Later, when John shows up and discovers that the book is gone and Schweck's body is gone, and Liza again just kind of shrugs it off.
Okay, first off, we need to mention how she got into this room in the first place.
Yes, go ahead.
So she attacks the door with an axe, and I say attack very lightly because she barely plants it in close to the door jamb, and with some slight twisting, the door just pops open. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the key that Arthur was looking for the whole time was the axe. It was the axe. Had he just had the axe.
So earlier in the movie, when Arthur is doing his creepy shit, he's tweaking. In Liza's room looking for keys, he says. So apparently the key, it's not even directly mentioned in the movie that the key, that the door won't open or that they don't have a key to that door.
Well, Liza had the right idea.
John also tells Liza that Emily doesn't exist, by the way, because apparently he knows every fucking body in this town. Also, Martin, the architect that's helping Liza fix up the hotel, goes to the library to get the original blueprints. And we have the infamous tarantula scene. Martin falls off of a ladder in the library, and these tarantulas show up out of nowhere and start eating him while he's paralyzed on the floor. And it's just, it's something.
I don't even know what to say. I really don't know what to say. I'll just read what I typed here. So Martin is in the building plans library, and the lightning strikes. Ooh, scary. And wouldn't you know it, Martin falls off the ladder. But no, he's not dead. No. But what is up with all the spiders, man? And there are tarantulas, too. Tarantulas. Okay? And they're not even all real.
Nope.
Like half of them are noticeable, like puppets.
Yep.
So then they begin eating Martin, and it's like the gross parts too. Like they're like eating his eyeballs.
It's the soft parts that they can eat. Yeah.
Well,
no gross parts.
Right, but if you think about it, it's the parts that we associate with pain the most.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So say for instance, you see somebody get their finger bitten off in a movie, right? You can't relate to that. You've never had your finger bitten off, but you've been poked in the eye before.
Ooh.
So you know what that feels like.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So, anyways, he's eaten alive by the spiders,
Just his face.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous. Like, this whole movie is ridiculous.
Yeah. So Dr. John commits a B&E at the house where Emily's supposed to be living and finds the Book of Ebon and does his own little research. So now, excuse me. So now Martha, back at the hotel, who's just trying to do her job, she's cleaning up room 36 and goes into the bathroom, and the tub is filled with this rancid, nasty, cold, dirty dishwasher looking stuff. But surprise, Joe the plumber's back and kills Martha by forcing a nail through her head and eyeball.
I do not understand. First off, who let her go in there? Like, lock the door back. And then, furthermore, she goes straight for the tub. Like, ooh, what's the grossest part of this whole fucking place?
At least it wasn't the toilet.
I'm doing this,
I wonder how long the actor had to stay in the tub to do that scene.
Oh, I don't know. I would imagine...
Because that is him.
It is him, yes. But I would imagine that he got in the tub right before that shot started.
And then they had to fill it up with the water and everything.
Well, no, he would have gotten in the water... it would have been full already. But my thing is like, how long or how many takes did he have to do? That would suck doing more than once, for sure. But she does pull like a wad of hair out of
it's pretty gross.
Should be the drain.
It's so disgusting. It's so nasty. Gross. Back at Emily, Schweck's zombie corpse, Martha's, and Joe's corpses show up, and Emily says she doesn't want to go back. And the zombies don't really attack her, but she tells Dickie, her guide dog, to attack the zombies, and he's a good boy and does his job, and then he's a bad boy and suddenly attacks Emily and kills her. I guess he saw his chance for freedom or something.
Now's my chance. I got to take it.
I gotta get out of this movie, man.
And I was really rooting for Dickie because, like, the whole time I was just like, he's like the best actor. Also, they dubbed over his bark. Like, they know, like, no shit, it's dubbed over.
Really?
And I'm just like, what is he barking in Japanese? We don't understand him. Like, he's like,
probably
it's just
Italian.
A bark.
I think.
Yeah, it's like bork. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, like. But he gives those zombies what for, and then turning around on her, like, it's pretty gruesome though. Mm-hmm. It's pretty gross.
No, she's just deaf, dumb, and blind. Because he went through her. She was already blind. He first attacked her throat, and then attacked her ear. So
classic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sorry, Emily.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Emily. So Liza decides to go explore the still flooded basement, looking for Arthur, and he like bursts out the water and like attacks her. I'm not sure if he's dead or not in the scene because we never saw anything happen to him. Arthur is just a really creepy man. Like, yeah.
Well, I think that goes back to the idea that he's tweaking in the first act, but because it's kind of like when we see Arthur come in with that pail of cement or whatever, it's kind of implied that he's being watched through the hole in the wall. So I'm assuming that that's what happens to him. He gets taken. But I also don't know if in this scene with Liza, if he's actually like dead already or if he's just like drowning.
That's, yeah.
In like 6 inches of water and just can't stand up. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, Arthur. Good old Arthur.
Also, phones are scary, LOL. I wrote this because I thought the bell was the phone ringing for the hotel, but it was the room 36 again.
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing.
You did too?
I did.
Okay, because she just gets screams.
She's wound up.
Yeah. So we're pretty much at the end of the whole debacle now. Dr. John shows up and is all like, Emily's not real, read the book, 7 Gates of Hell, yada yada. They go down to the basement again, and shit starts to pop off. It starts to rain blood. Like, the weather in this basement is very strange.
Yeah, it's definitely, cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
Thunder, lightning, fog, blood, rain.
Well, I say that because it's probably just spaghetti sauce. Anyways, I just don't like Dr. John or whatever his name, because he's asking her, like, who are you? Who are you? Like, like he doesn't believe her. And then when they go down there looking for Arthur and shit, pops off, he never once apologizes to her.
No. Well, it's the 70s.
Yeah. Well, fuck that dude. All right.
So as this happens, they get out. Eliza and John leave the hotel, and we get these silhouettes from inside the hotel, and it's just oof. I don't know why, but it really got me seeing these zombie bodies moving around all slow and stuff. Like, that is probably the creepiest shot in the movie to me.
Really?
Yes. I can take the gore and stuff, but like that creepiness, ugh. On the way to the hospital, they notice that the streets are bare. There's nobody out. And they get to the hospital, and it seems like it's been deserted. The phones are dead. And then these random ass zombies appear and start attacking, and everyone in town seems to be a zombie now, but these two. Also, John has a gun at the hospital. He pulls out a .38.
Yeah. So
out of his desk.
Yeah. So
in a hospital.
It's like they first get to his office or whatever, and they haven't seen any zombies yet to this point. The first thing he does is he grabs this piece out of the desk, right?
Gangster shit, man.
Yeah, like Dr. John is strapped, dude.
Yes.
Just strapped. Yes. He's ready to go heal,
Yeah.
And
it's a real one. It's a real one, man.
Yeah. And then, Liza over here, can't take her anywhere. She gets grabbed through the window by these zombies. And I have to point out, if I was in a zombie apocalypse, these are the zombies I'd want to have.
Yes,
it's almost like
slow, and I don't even know what to say about the ending of this movie anymore. Liza stumbles across Joe's daughter, Jill, and she's still got the white eyes. Jill kind of just has been hanging out at the autopsy theater in the hospital, and you think they would question about Jill wandering around with her eyes closed, but whatever. Well, she turns out to be a zombie and gets her head blown out.
Yeah, and that shot right there. That's pretty wild because he sees Schweik, his zombie or whatever, and up to this point, he's been like John Wick with this, this piece, like just blasting these zombies and stuff. And then when Schweik comes out, it's like he forgets, like, shoot him in the head. He's just shooting him in, like, the chest and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they get away from him, but then Jill snaps and goes after Liza. But I swear, like, John just turns around like Dirty Harry with that thing.
Yes.
Wow. Like,
first shot.
Dude.
Not playing no more.
No, not at all. It's wild.
Well, like a ceramic pot just falling to the ground, man. That's how it just exploded.
It's like the, from Tombstone where he's like, I'm going to turn your head into a canoe. That's what it was.
Now that Liza and John are the only two left, they are somehow transported back to the basement of the hotel. They're in this hospital, and they get away from the zombies long enough to find this door, and they start going downstairs. And it slowly turns in and transitions to the spiraling staircase. Mm-hmm. Well, not really slowly. It's almost like it's there. Mm-hmm. And they end up at the hotel again.
Yeah.
They see this light and fog, and they decide, let's walk towards that. And they follow it deeper into the basement, and they come across the actual entrance to hell. And it resembles the wasteland that Schweck had been painting before he was murdered.
Yeah, so I liked the ending. I did, because it kind of tied everything together, because we see John and Liza standing in this, desert landscape with these bodies and stuff, and then they're blind also, at the end, and then we kind of pull out, and it slowly turns back into the painting. So, and it wasn't until after the film was over that I realized who Emily was. Because, Emily is the woman that we see in the very beginning of the movie. Yeah. Which, I don't know if we mentioned, but that book that she's reading at the beginning, it blows up in her face, Well, it kind of bursts into flames or whatever. But I kind of felt like that's why she was blind. But now I don't know.
Yeah, because at the very end, so when they get to this wasteland, they start running in all the directions they can, but no matter how much they run, as soon as they move, they're back in the same spot. They're stuck directly in the same spot. Eventually, it's shown that they also now are blind and have the white eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe, when you become blind, maybe you turn into part of the painting.
Okay. You want to hear about my hypothesis?
Yes, please tell.
So my hypothesis about the whole how they're acting at the hotel and how Martha and Joe interact. Mm-hmm. I believe that this is the generations of people who were related to the original people in the hotel and the during the murder. And I think that it's always been this big town secret about what happened to Schweck. And the reason Arthur is in the bedroom looking for the keys is because he's trying to find the key to room 36 to make sure that Liza doesn't open it. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think when her uncle died, it kind of created a really big problem for these local people, because I think they realized that Schweck was a guardian, and now they've taken the guardianship over, because it said that when she inherited the hotel, Martha and Arthur came with the hotel.
Ah. That would make sense.
Yes.
So I wonder if Liza's uncle was one of the people that killed Schweck.
Yes, maybe. I also think that my whole the whole generation thing really, I really think that came in my head because I was thinking about how Schweck was burned with the acid, and then randomly Joe's wife was burned with the acid. Okay. So maybe throughout this whole thing, and especially when we learned that Emily has kind of been working with Schweck the whole time, that Schweck's ghost had been haunting these people for a really long time, and part of his revenge was killing Joe's wife, who possibly had a connection with one of the mob people, and did the thing that they did to him with the lime acid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which it kind of makes sense because then you look at the way that Martha died, being impaled by the nail and stuff. And then, but where does John fall in with this? John just kind of happens to be there.
Yeah. So, John and Liza, the two outsiders, because most doctors aren't from the same area that they grew up in. They're usually transfers and stuff, or or something like that. They're the outsiders. And I think that's another reason why all these other locals, all these other people so easily became zombies or, fell victim to Svek's, whatever, is because they're outsiders and they weren't really a part of or weren't directly linked to his murder.
Yeah.
So in the end, these people who actually attacked Svekt are the ones who actually cursed themselves in a way because they brought on his spirit to be evil by murdering him, who was actually trying to save them and keep the gates closed.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes into that whole witch trial thing again.
A little bit, yeah.
With the first movie.
Yeah. It's definitely a recurring theme.
Mm-hmm.
I bet that we're going to see a lot more of that in the next film.
Oh, and it's going to be the last one of the trilogy, and we can move on from Fulci. I'm so excited. It's been a really wild ride. I also haven't seen the next one.
Okay. Well, that'll be new.
Yes, so I'll have to watch this at least 3 times in the next week.
Yeah.
The next movie, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to that for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
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 I can't wait to give my 2 cents into, that cinematic landscape.
Yeah. So what would you rate The Beyond out of 10? I gave it, what did I say earlier? 4.5.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm probably there too.
Yeah, 4.5.
Like a 4. Probably like a 4. Because there's too much stuff that I feel like just got kind of overlooked for it to be better than that. So, yeah, I'm just not. I'm not at a 4.5. I don't feel like. Gotcha. So.
All right. So, thanks for watching. Or I say it every time. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you for listening. And we'll be back next week with the next episode. Yep. So, bye-bye. Bye. A massive shout out to all you fantastic listeners who've been a part of the And I Made Him Watch journey, hosted by the incredible Danny Page. Let's applaud Danny's exceptional research skills and creative genius while I, Troy Allen, work my technical magic and editing mastery. Our ears have been treated to the amazing tunes composed and performed by the talented Tori Wolf, with a big thanks to Epidemic Sound for keeping our auditory experience top-notch. As we conclude this whirlwind of cinematic escapades, gear up for the next thrilling chapter of And I Made Him Watch, where Danny takes charge once again, dragging me into the abyss with The House by the Cemetery, the final installment of the Fulci Gates of Hell trilogy. Buckle up for excitement, brace yourself for the unexpected, and get ready for all the movie madness that awaits in our podcast adventure. Keep those popcorn bowls handy, and a heartfelt thank you for joining us on this unforgettable film-filled journey.